So this is comb tooth, otherwise scientifically known as Hericium coraloides. And it's another toothed fungus, same as the lion's mane. It's in this nice family of teeth fungi. With this mushroom, we see they form these nice, branching fungi structures with these teeth-like elongations dangling at the end, sometimes looking like the end of a comb, hence the name comb tooth. Compared to lion's mane, which has more of a mild flavor, this one has more of a pronounced earthiness to it, along with a very similar texture that you'd find with lion's mane. As the mushroom matures, we'll notice this pink hue begin to turn into a nice white color. And at that point, we can start harvesting it. So it'll get much bigger than this. We'll still be looking at around 3 or 4 days before we harvest it. But real wonderful mushroom. Most likely contains a lot of the same medicinal compounds that you'd find with lion's mane, such as the hericinones and nerve growth factor compounds. Basically a great mushroom to use in place as lion's mane, or some people like the flavor that you might get out of this one compared to some of the other hericiums. I currently just like using the mushroom in like mixed cases and stuff like that. It's a nice mushroom to just add another depth of layer to a box that anybody's getting, or anybody that's interested in lion's mane like mushrooms. It's a nice mushroom to have for just diversity and more flavor. This is the chestnut mushroom, or Pholiota adiposa. These mushrooms are still in their infancy. They'll be ready to harvest probably within the next day or so. But this is a really popular strain. It's a relative of another mushroom called the Pholiota nameco, which is a really cool mushroom as well. This mushroom is known to have these nice little tufts of mycelium, or little freckled mycelium, that will grow on top of the cap, and it's just a sign of a healthy mushroom in a nice environment. I love the fact that it produces these wonderful clusters that you get of many mushrooms. It's a great mushroom, great flavor, has a nice earthy tone with a great meaty texture, and some people even report afternotes of mild pepper-like flavor. So here we have the lion's mane mushroom, otherwise known as Hericium erinaceus, and this is a really popular mushroom. It has these wonderful teeth-like elongations that kind of attributes to its wonderful texture as well as mild flavor. A lot of people will prepare it in many different ways, but basically just a wonderful mushroom that also can be used interchangeably as a medicinal mushroom, known for the hericinones and erinacines that this mushroom contains. This is our HE0 strain, which is out of all the lion's manes that we grow, this one has the longest teeth. This mushroom is still currently in its infancy, and it still has a couple days before harvesting. You could harvest at this stage and actually get a little bit more shelf life and kind of a denser texture out of the mushroom overall. But the HE0 will also have a nice pink-like hue as it starts to develop. As it fully matures, it'll brighten up and turn a nice white color. Once it over-matures, you'll notice that the mushroom begins to yellow. You want to basically catch it before it gets to that point. The HE0 is just a pretty cool mushroom. I like having it in the lineup. It's not as heavy of a yielding strain as the HE1 or HE3, usually averaging around 2.5 to 3 pounds for the first flush, and second and third flush will pump out these nice little heads of lion's mane, usually averaging 1 to 2 pounds. I like it for the showcasing ability of the mushroom with the long icicle-like elongations, and just having that nice lion's mane diversity so people can kind of experience a little bit of everything that lion's mane has to offer. And there's so many strains out there that can be grown out and experimented with, and you could find ones that you prefer over others. So here we have a bag of golden enoki grain spawn. This is the Flammulina veletipes, and this is a really cool mushroom. It's mainly grown in really cold conditions, actually. It's a mushroom that actually grows through refrigeration. A lot of the time seeing it grow in 40-degree temps or so. This bag has actually already begun to fruit, and we see golden enoki mushrooms growing right atop the grain spawn. So we can actually still use this to inoculate many substrate blocks. It's still fine for production as long as the bag is maintained and sealed and cleaned before brought into the lab and used in inoculations. The golden enoki that we grow tends to be a real fast, aggressive fruiter and also aggressive colonizer, usually taking over substrate within 3 weeks, and then at that point we can go straight into the grow room. Lately we've been going ahead and just making a nice little slice on the end of the block like we do with our oyster mushrooms to sort of streamline more of the processes here. And we've noticed that the mushrooms do really well that way. We love the way that the mushrooms form, and everybody seems to be happy. So it makes it much easier for us. That's currently what we're doing with this strain. Other strains might prefer different methods, or such as top fruiting. It's best to conduct mini trials on each strain that you do obtain for cultivation, and run those trials before committing to a certain, production method streamlined for the grow rooms and whatnot. Golden enokis are widely used throughout Asia for basically the nice texture that they have, and very, very long, elongated stems and very small caps. I think it's just one that's really fun to grow. This is Ganoderma sicile, otherwise known as Reishi, one of the many Ganoderma varieties that we grow. This is the fastest, most aggressive Ganoderma that I currently work with, usually colonizing substrate in a matter of a week. Noticing mushroom production happens in as little as 2 to 3 weeks. You start seeing little reishi formations start to form. And not long before that, they get to a nice height where you can go ahead and lower the bag down and place them into a grow room or a lowered CO2 environment, and that'll initiate this conch formation, and it'll happen over the course of 1 to 2 weeks. You'll notice the mushrooms will form these nice disc-like formations that'll really give the mushroom a really unique appearance. At that point, we let them mature, and then we can harvest at the right time to basically maximize the mushroom. It's been a little under 2 months, and we're already looking at really nice growth from this mushroom. Not as lacquered as the Ganoderma lucidum. The Ganoderma lucidum will produce a mushroom that's real shiny. And then we also have a Ganoderma multipilium, which is an Asian variety where you get an orange and yellowish tone to the mushroom, and they produce these really nice antler formations compared to some of the other reishis. This reishi is just really aggressive, has a wonderful appearance once it's fully grown out. A lot of people ask me, can I eat this mushroom? What can I cook it in? How does it taste? And the answer is basically, the mushroom's best used in tea, extracts, and medicinal brews. Due to the fact that the mushroom has this really tough texture. Once dried, it's almost real fibrous, like the branch of a tree or something like that. Really hard to eat, real chewy. So you would have to brew the mushroom with like a hot water, or you can extract it with different solutions or solvents, and obtain the medicinal goodies such as polysaccharides and some of the other compounds that you would find in these mushrooms. Shown to stimulate the immune function, anti-cancer, anti-tumor. Yeah, there's just a host of benefits that are out there in the research, so it's a cool mushroom. Here we have Agrocybe agerita, otherwise known as Pioppino, and this is a colonized block of substrate or sawdust that's been taken over by the mushroom's mycelium, which is this white organism that you see that's basically devoured this sawdust. It's this wonderful mushroom that has a nice long stem and a nice velvety cap. It's widely used throughout like Mediterranean style cuisine, such as pastas and other dishes like that. We're currently growing a lot of it here. It's a great mushroom that we use in addition to like the mixed cases that we compile. Here we have a block of colonized sawdust that's been supplemented. And at this point, we're about 17 days into colonization. With this strain, it's pretty fast. It colonizes in roughly 14 to 18 days. And by 18 days, you'll see these nice little pin sets forming inside the bag. Little areas where you'll see mushroom growth in certain areas, and at this point it's ready to go in the grow room, because once the pins and mushrooms begin to form, the growth happens very quickly. In a matter of 5 to 7 days at the most, the mushrooms will be ready to harvest. So I'll just cut this bag. When I'm ready to fruit the mushroom, I'll just kind of simply cut it at the very top, and there we can see the nice mushroom, little sets of mushrooms forming in the bag right there. Basically place this into the grow room right before this is happening, because if you let the mushrooms sit too long in here, they'll continue to grow over the next course of 3 days or so, and they get past the point of prime in here and the mushrooms will abort. We'll simply just cut it open like that and place it in the grow room that's at the optimum conditions. Usually the higher humidity and the cooler weather this mushroom prefers, but typically we're able to grow it all year round. Anywhere between 65 and 75 degrees works fine. Really like having that 90% plus humidity with strains like this and all the other real exotic ones we like to grow here. We're looking at a Black Pearl King Trumpet substrate block, and it's going through its colonization process right now. It's actually about 7 days into colonization or incubation, and the mycelium is just weaving its way through the sawdust. This mushroom loves the cooler weather, and it likes heightened oxygen levels, basically the same environment that we grow all of our mushrooms in. It's kind of like the best of both worlds, as opposed to like the classic king trumpet and an oyster mushroom. This is said to be the hybrid of Pleurotus austratus and Pleurotus syringae, which is the oyster mushroom and king trumpet. King trumpets tend to be a little bit more tougher or chewier. This mushroom is a little bit more tender. It's real savory. I have a lot of chefs that actually like to use this and kind of get the best of both worlds. You can use it as a king trumpet, or you can use it as an oyster. In another week or two, this mushroom block will be fully colonized and ready to enter the grow room to begin the mushroom production process. So at this point, we'll just go back to incubation and let it await that time.